Scanning for audio.
Welcome once again to the Tin Dog Podcast, number 105. There's this thing that TV does. You know, reality TV, the sort of thing that's on during the day, where after the commercials, it says previously on this show. And just before the commercials, it says coming up next on the name of the show. And it drives me insane because what I'm doing is I'm actually watching the show. It's got to a point where you need to watch a TV show that's been recorded just so you can fast forward through these recaps and precaps. Even James May's show is kind of responsible. I know it's not a new thing. Murder, She Wrote and Space 1999. In fact, a lot of Gerry Anderson stuff used to say what's happening in this episode, and you know, you were already watching it. You didn't have to be told. Our attention spans aren't that bad. Perhaps everyone else in the world is. The reason I mention this is because previously, on the Tin Dog Podcast, I was talking my way through every single story from the 2005 season, and someone emailed me recently and suggested that I finish it off, because I only did the first 3. And so, in this week before Waters of Mars, and there will be a trailer for Waters of Mars at the end of the show, after the credits, so please feel free to listen to that if you want to hear it, and if you don't want to hear it, because you're avoiding spoilers until Sunday night, skip past. So I'm going to be talking about Aliens of London, and of course the latest Sarah Jane adventures. Should I talk about Sarah Jane first? I suspect I should. Here's the trailer.
No one really knows just when Ashen Hill Manor was first built. But through history, there has always been a house here. And so they say, just as long as there's been stone and oak, there has always been evil. They say it was the reputation of the house that attracted the magician Erasmus Darkning. He entered the service of the young Lord of the Manor, the widower, Lord Marchwood. Darkning promised that in return for his protection, he would replenish the family's fortunes with the secret of making gold from base metal. But after 2 years working in a secret chamber far beneath the house, Darkning's alchemy had failed to bear 1 ounce of gold. And the people on Marchwood's land were uneasy. There were stories of how Darkning came among them at night, of how he took away people that never returned, and that he was not human.
It's a good story, Professor, but I don't believe in ghosts.
Of course you don't, and neither do I. But Ashen Hill Manor is reputedly one of the most haunted locations in the UK.
So let me get this right. If you don't believe in ghosts, Sarah Jane, and you don't believe in ghosts, Professor, then
What are we doing here?
To see if we're right. To find out scientifically one way or the other.
In that case, I'm delighted you invited me along to cover the story.
We're set up through here.
are you sure about this? I mean, there's no such thing as ghosts, is there?
God, I don't believe you. After all the things we've seen, you're scared of ghosts.
After the excitement of last week's Doctor Who episode of Sarah Jane, I was expecting something of a little bit less quality, but I was rather pleased to see that Alice Troughton had directed it. It had atmosphere and in-jokes, the sort of thing that they were trying to go for with Army of Ghosts, but didn't quite make it. Here it worked tremendously well. Watched together, you end up with a truly great piece of TV drama, something that the Doctor could have been in, and it harkened back to the good old days of the Pertwee Doctor. Sarah Jane did say she didn't believe in ghosts, and I could cite several examples, including Ghosts of N-Space, where she had seen things that she could have referenced here. I know Ghosts of N-Space doesn't really count, but the Time Warrior she saw a ghost, which again proved to be something scientific. I'm not actually making a decent point here, despite the fact to say that this was a great story. Perhaps it was because I wasn't expecting the Earth that I received a little gem. I have had emails this week also about the new K9 TV series. That worries me. It worries me because of the design. It worries me because it's everything that Sarah Jane might not have been. And the fact that K9's appearing in 2 different TV shows, isn't that just going to confuse matters?
It's not 12 hours, it's 12 months. You've been gone a whole year. Sorry.
After the death of my best friend, I've been left a lot of Doctor Who DVDs, many of which I didn't actually own as originals, as the majority of my collection were made up of VHS. My collection of new series stuff again was taped off the TV. I use taped in the modern sense of the word, but I now have the entire new Doctor Who series on DVD, and I thought it only polite that I worked my way through them. It reminded me that I hadn't actually reviewed World War III or Aliens of London as part of the TDP, and so I'm going to fix that with a fresh look at this much maligned 2-parter.
Whoever those aliens are, they haven't just arrived, they've been here for a while.
Harriet Jones, MP for Flydale North.
I thought I was Prime Minister now. Thank you all for wearing your ID cards. They'll help to identify the bodies.
To save you from going back over the last few reviews, which I believe are way down the list of Tin Dog podcasts, basically I love the first 3 Doctor Who stories. They're strong, they're well structured, they fit together wonderfully. They have enough mystery, enough characterisation to really grab the audience. And it wasn't until Aliens of London that things started to fall apart for me as a fan. But it's been a few years since I've seen the story, so I thought I'd try again with eyes afresh, and I wasn't disappointed. You see, it's the things that are really truly awful about a story that you remember. Time and the Rani, you only truly remember the incredibly bad tree effect. And, for me, of course, many of the really bad accents. And here, in these 2 stories, what you remember are the Slovene. Baby-faced, pointless monsters that climb inside other people's bodysuits, like third-rate Zygons, and try to take over the Earth in order to sell it as a sort of plot line for Only Fools and Horses. It's the farting. It's the really bad bits that stick in the mind. Remove that. Don't think about that for a moment. And what have you got? You've got Doctor Who dealing with the one thing at the beginning of the story that it doesn't normally deal with, and it's never dealt with before. And that's consequences of travelling with the Doctor. It's been mentioned, it's been hinted at in the past, but the overall effect of the Doctor's presence is never truly that bad. But here, she's been missing for a year. The people that have been left behind are hurt, and largely in trouble. And then the spaceship flies in over London. It's a great effect. Admittedly, if you watch it a frame at a time, you can see the bits of MDF behind the clock face of the tower that contains Big Ben, or as it's known to the rest of the world, Big Ben. It's a great effect. It's a collection of really good stuff. Even the ship hitting the Thames itself with the reasonably good water effect outclasses everything that's ever gone before. But you can't help thinking about those dodgy Slovene. This is the first story that begins what I can only describe as the anti-fat agenda. A lot of people have said there's some sort of gay agenda going on in Doctor Who at this point, but there wasn't. What there definitely is a recurring theme about the comedy effect of fat people. Some people may see this as a definite attempt to alienate classic Doctor Who fans on the grounds that they're a little bit portly. I couldn't possibly comment. but it recurs time and time again. Comedy value equals fat people to these people who make this show. Because the Savine are a comedy set of aliens. Oh, for the record, Raxacoricofallapatorius. It's not that hard to say. On paper, this works tremendously well. The recurrence of Unit with its proper name, although the proper name is given by the Doctor, not by the people of Earth. You see Tosh from Torchwood. Is it timey-wimey, or is it just a reference to something that's cleared up in Torchwood later on, about Owen being too drunk to work, which is why Tosh isn't particularly good at an autopsy? We've got the ridiculously bad Pig in Space. Is that just too postmodern for its own good? Well, perhaps. But there's more good things in this story than bad by a substantial margin. The Doctor working out where the family Savine are from, Mickey's missile attack, Harriet Jones MP, and the whole country acting badly, all work great. You just can't fault it. The only things that stick in our minds as fans, though, are the flaws. And why? Because we've been given 3 such strong stories beforehand. These are the 2 stories that you skip by on the DVD in order to get to Dalek. And it's not as fair as you think. Of course, next time I'll be talking about The Waters of Mars. But then, soon after that, I'll be doing Dalek. Why? Because this month marks the re-release of The Key to Time. And I think I've covered the classic series a little bit too much of late. So, while everyone else reviews the re-releases of that, and trust me, I will get round to it at some point, I thought I'd go back and cover the rest of the 2005 season.
8 out of 10 listeners who expressed a preference say they prefer the Tin Dog podcast.
We certainly do over here at Staggering Stories.
.net.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who's bought a Whostrology of late. It truly is helping. But, of course, being as strapped for cash as I truly am, I feel obliged to point out that there's a donate button on the front page of the website, but more importantly, that I am selling the Doctor Who themed crib mobile that I made a few months ago. It uses the little morphed figures, and if you want to have a look at it on eBay, simply nip over to the site and type in Doctor Who and crib and see what comes up. And so before I go play the credits and then play the Waters of Mars trailer, here's a couple of Whostrologies. The first is for David Wise, born on the 23rd of August 1986. Born in the time of the 6th Doctor, born between seasons 22 and 23 in the Great Hiatus. Story shown on your birthday. You were born between Revelation of the Daleks and the Mysterious Planet, and you share your birthday with Peter Wingard. Your life may feel like it's on hiatus from time to time, but don't let that worry you. You have missing stories all around you, and you are destined for a great career in audio. Not everyone likes your coat, and may feel the need to put you on trial. You may be your own worst enemy. Beware of a shouting man. He may take your friend away and marry her. Faith in the fire god will show you the way. And the next is Peggy S. Polott, born on the 9th of February 1953. You were born in a time before the First Doctor, and Susan began their great journey. Stories shown on your birthday. You were born on the anniversary of Invasion of the Dinosaurs Part 5, Kinder Part 4, Mordrin Undead Part 4, and Mark of the Rani Part 2. Can you be convinced by a documentary? Others may blame you for something you have not done. Find out their real motives. Sometimes you can't mend people. Beware of a rubbish rubber snake. Before an unexpected meeting will help sort out other people's problems. Inventors may need a helping hand, but make sure you get a good night's sleep. You never know when you'll need it. And so I'll bid you all a good farewell, and I'll speak to you after Waters of Mars. So until then, be seeing you. You have been listening to the Tin Dog Podcast. Doctor Who and its associated shows are all trademark of the BBC. No infringement is intended. Contact us at tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk.
State your name, rank, and intention.
The Doctor. Doctor. Fun.
What the hell? It's a man. Man on Mars. How?
He was wearing this thing. I have never seen anything like it.
What did mission control say?
They're out of range for 10 hours with the solar flares.
If we could cut the chat, everyone.
Actually, chat's second on my list, the first being gun, pointed at my head. Which then puts my head second and chat third, I think. Gun, head, chat, yeah, I hate lists. But you could hurt someone with that thing, just put it down.
Oh, you'd like that?
And you'd find me someone who wouldn't?
Why should I trust you?
Because I give you my word. At 40 million miles away from home, my word is all you've got.
Oh, you beauties. Look at this.
Better start planting some more if there's an extra mouth to feed.
The very first garden off Earth. Everything brand new. Eden. That's what we should have called this place.
It's the Philippines. I bet. If there's someone else on Mars, it's got to be the Philippines. All those stories about them building a rocket. Adelaide's gonna love that. Stealing her thunder. Mind you, worth it to see her face. Or it could be the Spanish. They kept that Space Link project under wraps. Didn't your sister work for them? Are you alright, mate? Come on, stop mucking about. Andy? You okay?
We've got to go.
Set the seal to maximum!